Yes, I do. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the legal class of today. It's a bit of a special class because it's the last class before the CLAT exam, and definitely I will speak to the appearing batch again before the exam. But as such, it's the last class, so I'm very happy to interact with you all before. Um, Unfortunately, there's some problem with my video right now, maybe due to weather or I don't know. But right now it's not working, but it's okay because first we are having the study part of the class where we are going to read the passage and things like that. It's not important. And after that, I'll try again. Maybe if then it's working, then we can have a even if it doesn't work, we will still have a nice discussion, Q&A session, and some hopefully some motivation for you all. Okay, so as usual, those who attend the class, they know whoever wants to read a passage or whoever wants to answer a question, you can just raise your hand in the participants box and I will read one by one and I'll try and give chance to everybody. Okay. So let's, without any further ado, let's dive into it. Mm, and whoever wants to read this particular passage 14 that's visible, please raise your hand and then you can start reading. Okay, yes. Please go ahead.
In the late 20th century and early 21st century,
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
In the late 20th century and early 21st century, the phrase trial by media became popular. It describes the impact of newspaper and television coverage on the reputation of a person. The news channels and newspapers create a widespread perception of innocence or guilt before or after a verdict in a court of law. In India, media is considered to be one of the pillars of democracy. Media plays many roles in society. It has an impact on molding the opinion of general public. In many cases, it proved to have the capacity to change the whole viewpoint of society about various events. Thus, it is important to have a free and healthy press so that democracy can function properly. In a democratic setup, the general public participates in all the community affairs as well as the state. It is their right to stay informed about the current political, social, economic, and cultural events and important issues so that they can form a broad opinion about the way every issue is being managed, tackled, and administered by the government and its functionaries. Article 19 of the Constitution ensures that the right to freedom of speech and expression, ensures the right to freedom of speech and expression. However, as per the subclause 2 of the same article, the freedom is not absolute. The right to freedom of speech and expression does not give the right to commit contempt of court. That is, make statements that can lower the dignity of the court or defame another person by making unsubstantiated claims against him or her. The truth is considered as a defense to defamation in the court of law. Justice Makarande Kaju, former Supreme Court, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and former Chairman, Press Council of India, once said that in a statement that in today's time the press has been commercialized to a large extent. In this business, there should also be a balance between profit and social responsibility. If media house fails to do so, the society will not accept the media for long. It is the responsibility of the PCI as an independent statutory body that there is a balance between profit making and social responsibility. The tendency to profit from some media owners and contractual basis hiring of journalists is downgrading journalism's quality.
Okay, thank you for that, Laksha. All right. Now, since it's your last class before the, I want to give you some like a bit of tips and tricks on how to approach any question in the exam. So when you're reading a passage like this, first of all, obviously, since this is classroom, we are reading it so thoroughly. But in the exam hall, you will first of all just read it for 30 seconds. Okay, glance over it, see what's the concept, read two, three keywords over there, then move to the questions. One by one, when you're seeing the question, you again go back and see what's the relevant part of passage, try and match the words and, find the answer and write it over there. Of course, that's how you're going to solve any kind of passage. Now I want to show you like when I am reading this passage, what am I thinking? I am thinking what sort of question can be asked in the questions below. Like for example, obviously when it is saying Article 19 of Constitution, already you know a lot about that article. So you know there's going to be a question about, like, you know, since it's trial by media, something will happen in press, and then it will be like, oh, whether it is freedom of speech or whether it is, like, you know, based on your earlier knowledge of, you know, questions that you have solved and things like that. So when you're reading the passage already, start anticipating the questions. Okay. Then some other things, like whenever you're reading a passage, try and think of the current affairs topics that it's dealing with. Like for example, the moment you are saying trial by media, the first thing that comes to your mind, or at least my mind, is Riya Chakravarti case, right? Where just because like some kind of public opinion has been formed, you know, events are taking place in a certain manner, or like the Kangana Ranaut and the Bollywood case right now, you know, that she's saying that all of them are drug addicts or in the media, and now, like, you know, Deepika Padukone is being investigated for some kind of, you know, drug related matters. It's like that. So these are like current affairs things which you can link it with any kind of thing that you're reading. Justice Markandeya Kajju, so he was a former judge. He was former chairman of Press Council of India. He has come in news lately in a very negative limelight, because like he used to go on Facebook and comment on, you know, various he used to write various comments on Facebook, and over there, like, you know, some girl commented on his statement, and you know, he said that you know, and it was pretty late at night when she commented. So he replied saying like, good girls go to sleep at night, go to sleep early. So these kind of things. So he got into a lot of trouble for that. That came in a Bar and Bench article recently. So try and keep you know, up to date about these kind of things. Try and read like Bar and Bench and those kind of things. So especially the last week, because a lot of people have asked me, sir, how long will the current affairs come? In an online exam, it is very, very easy to tweak the paper till the very last second also. Okay. So, and all these, you know, kind of different competitive exams take a lot of pride in asking the most latest current affairs news. So be sure that it will come from like this week that we are in right now. Okay. So just keep your eyes and ears open. Don't have to do much. Go to like this In Shorts app or GK Today app or something like that. More than enough to get a basic idea. Okay. So having said all that, I think the passage itself is quite simple. It is more of like a kind of comprehension passage, because you understood that the real questions are going to be in the you know, questions itself. It's not really giving you much information in terms of you know, content. So like for example, same thing in GK. Like you don't sit and read the GK passage, you know, because nothing is over there. Same way in this particular passage of legal, some passages are a lot of information. Here it's just fluff, right? The real questions are going to be now. So one by one, let us approach, or rather let us attack the questions. So whoever wants to answer, I'm giving you all a minute. Just read the question, understand it. Whoever wants to answer, just raise your hand and I will give you a chance. Okay, go ahead, Shruti.
Nayak, a famous journalist, wrote a newspaper that Mrs. Meera, an opposition leader, had committed theft worth billions of dollars. When Mrs. Meera sued him, he took the defense of freedom of the press decide. So the answer is A. Nayak is guilty of defaming Mrs. Meera, because here in the second passage it's written, Article 19 of the Constitution ensures the right to freedom of speech and expression. However, as per the subclause 2 of the same article, the freedom is not absolute. The right of freedom of speech and expression does not give the right to commit contempt of court, that is, make statements that can lower the dignity of the court or defame another person by making unsubstantiated claim against him or her. So, Sir Nayak is guilty of defamation.
Yes, absolutely correct, Shruti, and well explained also. Okay, so right, that is the correct answer, and I think I don't need to explain anything further apart from that. So let's move on to the second question, and whoever wants to answer this, okay, we already have someone. Sajal, please go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. The second question is, the above case was decided against Miss Meera, and infuriated, she said the judge is corrupt. What will happen next? So the answer is option D. She will be held for contempt of court, because she said to the judge that the judge is corrupt.
Right. And of course, that's not a fair statement, because, like, you know, there's no evidence of that. She can't just go and making some statement. Just like in the first case, that, you know, there was no basis for the allegation that she has committed theft. Same way, there's no basis for the allegation that the judge is corrupt. Okay, so that's the correct answer. Moving on to the third question. Who wants to answer? Please raise your hand. Okay, go ahead, Laksha.
The question says a biographer working on a famous writer's biography discovered an incident in the writer's past where he had exchanged formal letters with a controversial starlet. The biographer published an article detailing the letters and saying that the writer and starlet had an affair many years ago. The writer and the starlet filed a case against the biographer. The correct answer would be D. The biographer is guilty as there is no basis for the allegation. The letters were formal in nature and this amounts to defamation. And this would be correct because it is factually correct in order for the defamation that we had read. So this
Mhm.
would clearly give us the answer.
Okay, okay, that's a good answer, and I can understand why you would say that. Is there anyone else who wants to try? Okay, see, my answer to this would be that the biographer is guilty because he has assumed something out of something which did not exist. Okay, so if you see over there, it is very clearly written that they had exchanged formal letters. Now, any kind of a person, whether it's a writer or anyone, can exchange some kind of communication with somebody else. You always have cases of like presidents or prime ministers writing with like having correspondence with various type of people in society. So those kind of things can't be the basis of some sort of allegation that there was an affair, between them. Because an affair is kind of an informal relationship. So which is why, as far as yes, the letters are concerned, he detailed the letters. That part is totally fine. He can't be held for contempt. But when he's drawing a illogical conclusion that they had an affair simply because they wrote some letters to each other, which were of formal nature, then I would say that that amounts to defamation. Okay, but I can see your point when you say that of course, like it would be defamation because like he's it would not be because he's kind of just detailing factual situations. It's the conclusions that he's drawing is the problem. Okay, so next one, who wants to try? And the most important part is trying. The most important part is not getting or not getting. I keep telling everyone that you all need to attempt more questions in the class, because all of you are like leaving 10 questions, 20 questions. You are already giving up the best law schools. So try and attempt questions. Okay, fortune favors the brave. All right, so let's see who wants to answer. Please raise your hand, and opportunity will be given only to the genuine students, because I know who they are. Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
A judge was accused of sexual harassment by a staffer. This news was reported by a leading daily. The judge hauled up the editor of the newspaper for contempt of court. Decide. So the answer can be A. The editor was exercising the freedom of press because he was just presenting the facts that the judge has been accused.
Hey, exactly. He wasn't taking any sides. He wasn't saying that the judge actually did that, a particular crime, or that a particular lady was lying. Neither way he's writing. He's just writing the truth. That this person was accused of this crime. That's totally fine. And therefore, your answer is correct. Good. Next one. Who wants to try? Okay, Akansha, go ahead.
Okay, sir. So I think the answer would be C. Yes, because there was no social responsibility shown by the paparazzi, as written in the third paragraph, that if media houses fail to do so, society will not accept the media for long. It is the responsibility of the PCI as an independent and solitary body that there is a balance between profit making and social responsibility. So I think the answer would be C.
Yes, the answer would be C because it has been clearly written in the passage over here. Like in a few pieces of information are given over there. So they are saying there is a balance between profit making and social responsibility. Okay. So over here you can see yes because there was no social, and over here it should have been yes because there was a profit making tendency. Because it has been written no, that is why the answer is not correct. That is why the answer is C. Okay. So that is the reason. All right. Now that completes the 14th passage or the first passage for today. And now we are going to move on to the next passage. So whoever wants to read, okay. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
The Constitution of a state provides that all citizens shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, assemble peacefully and without arms, and form associations or unions. However, freedom of speech and expression is not absolute. There are several restrictions on the freedom of speech and expression. There are in respect of sovereignty and integrity of the country, such as for the security of the state, maintaining public order, decency or morality, and to prevent any incitement to the offense. Also, certain section of the Code of Criminal Procedure renders a power to issue order in urgent cases of nuisance of apprehended danger to prohibit the assembly of four or more people in an area. But no order under this section shall remain in force for more than 2 months from making thereof. But if people are restrained in a bounded area for any time without lawful cause, then they are said to be in a false imprisonment.
Right. Good. Okay. So again, over here, I don't think it is complicated. It's basically just again, fluff, but very concentrated. Because you'll see sometimes like a paragraph, it doesn't give you much information, and at the same time, it gives you all the information, very much compressed. Okay. So that is what has happened here. And once again, when you see this kind of paragraph, be sure that the questions will have problem types. Okay. Because there's some kind of information all jumbled up over here, and those will form your kind of principles once you unweave them in problem-based questions. Okay, so now let us move on to those problem-based questions, and one by one those who are interested can answer. Fine. And okay, go ahead please. I'll give everyone a chance, whoever is raising the hands. So this time, yes, Hijab, go ahead.
Sir, several students are protesting against the big program.
So may I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Several students were protesting against a bill proposed by the government of the state in the campus. They also participated in demonstration marches, sitting, carrying protests, chanting Azadi and Infalab. Many people supported them while many of them were against them. Is their act unlawful? So I think the answer should be B, no, because they have their own right to protest.
Absolutely. Because saying Azadi and Inkilab, what do these words mean? Like, you don't really have to have a knowledge of Hindi really, or Urdu for that matter, to understand that these are commonly used terms in India for like freedom and revolution and things like that. Even in our courses we study, like, these were terms used during the freedom movement by our own freedom fighters, Inkilab Zindabad, etc. So I don't think that these can constitute any kind of offense, and they were simply exercising the right to protest. So that is why the answer is B. Okay, well done. Next question number 2. Okay, Aryan, let's try. Go ahead, Aryan.
Second, in order to maintain law and order, police have fired tear gas shells inside the campus, barked into the premises, and detained students. Several students were injured and traumatized. What was the conduct justified? So, sir, answer should be C. No, because the protest was peaceful and none of them carried arms, and they have freedom of speech and expression, assemble, and form association.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. Okay, next. Yeah, Laksha, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The question says the protest became very intense as the group of students got polarized and started arguing among themselves. They even damaged the college property. What should be the course of action of the government in such situation? The answer would be D. Government can warn the students and issue orders to deploy them as there is apprehension of anger. The answer would be this because a section of the CRPC renders power to the issue order in urgent cases of nuisance. Like they can issue a warning to the students before taking any actions against them to
Right.
warn them about their thing.
Absolutely. And as we discussed right now, this is one of the cases where inside the jumble of the words, there is some sort of answer. If you look over here, you will find the answer. Certain section of the code of CRPC renders power to issue order in urgent case of nuisance of apprehended danger. Right. So all the ingredients you are finding over here, and therefore the answer is D. Okay, good. Next. Right. It's number 4 now, right? Yeah, number 4. Okay. Okay. Aishanya, go ahead.
After this incident, no one turned up to protest. However, few groups of students again started demonstrations, marches, and strikes. Later on, the police force got deployed and dragged students, assaulting them. Their action is likely to, the answer will be D, may or may not succeed because it is neither specified whether government has lifted the imposition or not.
Absolutely correct. You cannot assume things which are not mentioned in passage. Like I said, there is like a lot of jumble over there inside the passage. From that, you have to remove the threads, slowly of the principles. But sometimes the answer is just not there. Deliberately to confuse you, they have given a red herring, what is known as, red herring means something which is not there actually. It's like a misleading thing. In Hindi, we say gumrah karne ke liye, to misguide you. So sometimes that happens. The examiner does that, and this is one of those cases where you cannot infer something. Similarly, in some cases, I'm going to show you the next passage where you are asked to infer things. Okay, your legal knowledge is sort of tested. Okay, and it's a very fine distinction to make. Sometimes the line is not at all clear. Okay, it is very blurred. Okay, but in this instance, it is very, very easy to understand that you cannot infer such a thing because it is nowhere mentioned in the passage. Okay, so that's why your answer is correct. Good. Okay, so final one wants to answer. Okay. Yes, Shafi, please go ahead.
So, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Shafi.
So there is some.
Okay, Lakshya, please go ahead.
The question states in another university campus of the country, protests were carried out. Being alarmed by the aforementioned case, the police came and held the students at gunpoint inside the campus. They forced them to stay in the foyer, locked them all from outside, and fled. Can the police be charged for false imprisonment? The answer would be yes. They were because they were bounded in an area unreasonably. It is
Okay.
clearly laid in the principle that if people are restrained in a bounded area for any time without lawful cause, they are said to be in false imprisonment. So it is clearly stated in the passage itself.
See, again, you have the answer over here and you have to unravel it. Okay. So here we have seen instances of like, the principles are, kind of bound up tightly, like a ball made out of string, you have to kind of untwirl that to get the answers. Okay. Now we are going to see a kind of passage where you have absolutely nothing. Okay, hardly few lines, and it doesn't really clarify anything. And your knowledge is being tested. Your absolute legal reasoning is being tested over here. This is a very, very kind of technical kind of passage, and very, very rarely you will find. But I want to prepare you for everything, so I have given one of these as well. Okay. So who wants to read? Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sedition in
Go
the
ahead.
state is defined as a. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah. Go ahead, Aryan.
Sedition in state is defined as a words either spoken or written, or by signs, or by visible representation, or otherwise bring or attempt to bring into hatred or contempt, or excise or attempt to exit disaffections towards the government established by law. Disaffection has been explained to include disloyalty and all feelings of enmity. However, people have right to speech and expression.
Okay, good. Fine. Very short, simple, crisp kind of a paragraph. Okay. Hardly there is 2 or 3 lines over here. Now let's see what are the questions and how to answer them. Because clearly there are going to be some kind of complicated kind of questions now. Okay. So one by one. Okay. Akansha, you can go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the question is, a group of citizens disapprove with one of the recently implemented government measure without contempt. Is their remark seditious in nature? So, sir, I think the answer would be D. No, because the spoken words are without any contempt.
Right. Obviously, like we just now discussed, there was no kind of, malice, in that kind of speech. And that is why the answer will be D. Okay. Fine. Next one. Sajal. Go ahead. Yes, Shruti, go ahead.
Citizens of the state tried to prove that the section dealing with sedition infringes their right of freedom of speech and expression. Are they right or wrong? So the answer can be C. They are wrong because they have liberty to disagree to government activities without generating any hatred or contempt.
Okay. And why do you say so?
So, because sir, because in the question it is asked, citizen of the state tried to prove that section dealing with sedition infringes their right of freedom of speech and expression. But sir,
Exactly.
without doing, but in the answer it's given that they are wrong. Sir, it's not that when we have to criticize the government, we should
Hmm.
say hatred words or
Yeah.
spread
Yeah.
hatred. We can
Correct.
criticize in a peaceful way.
Correct. Okay, good. Well explained. That's absolutely it. And you must be seeing there's a very fine line. Like it is somewhat given in passage, somewhat it is not given in passage, right? So this
Yes,
is the fine line of legal reasoning that we are walking over here, okay, in this passage. Good. Next one. Third one. Okay, Laksha, go ahead.
An accomplished professor of political science wrote a critical comment on a policy taken by government in a newspaper. He discusses about the same in his lecture at college. The students further posted his comment with their own on social media against the policy, which becomes viral. As a result, the professor is arrested. The answer would be B. The professor has not committed sedition as he has only expressed his notion of the policy. The professor was just expressing his opinions and he did not mean to incite any hatred among the people who were hearing his points.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Because the comments he was making were basically nothing related to some sort of sedition or some sort of activity. He was merely making academic comment. Okay, that is why it will not form part of sedition. Good. Next one. Okay, Aishanya, go ahead.
An opposition party politician delivered a speech against the government, creating a feeling of enmity. It had the potential to excite disaffection towards the government. However, the public were not moved by the speech. Is the politician liable to be with sedition? I think the answer will be A. Yes, because even the attempt to bring government into contempt and hatred is sufficient. It's given in the passage that it brings or attempts to bring. So, therefore, the answer will be A.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because it is not just saying that, it is not just saying that, it is going to cause it. That is only the thing. Even attempting to do it is a thing. Like, for example, murder. You don't just say that murder is illegal, right? Even attempting to murder. You can't justify yourself saying, like, he didn't die. I tried to kill him, but he didn't die. So I'm not liable. It's very obvious. So the same thing applies. Okay. Next. Sejal, go ahead.
Yes, sir. An honest civil servant was enraged by the widespread corruption in the country. Hence, while addressing civilians on the occasion of Republic Day, said the established government has many sycophants, prejudiced and biased executives. They do not have the capacity to remain in power and thus must cast out their reign in the coming election. The civil servant is. So the options are not visible.
Can you see now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He is not guilty of sedition. The option is C, is not guilty of sedition because he's just discussing it with the sophisticated civilians and does not mean to incite them.
Absolutely. Even I agree with you. It is either A or C. I think
Yes,
there's
sir.
a typo over here because I think it's a typo here because it's given B. Obviously, it is either A or C, right? So I completely agree with you. I think C is the better answer, like you said, because he's discussing it in a sophisticated manner, and he's not kind of saying all the people or murder all the people. He's saying like we should kind of remove them during the legal and the electoral process. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Okay? Good. Now, moving on to the next passage. Okay, whoever wants to read, please raise your hand. Okay, let's give Shruti a chance. Others have always read before. Go ahead, Shruti.
The Republic of Registan is a country ruled by Mr. Michael. Marizgaon, a small town in Registan, has been recently affected by the outbreak of tuberculosis virus, due to which people are dying at an alarming rate. The disease is known to spread even among those who are not showing symptoms. The government of Registan decides to quarantine and lock down the entire town of Marizgaon in order to contain the spread of tuberculosis virus in a manner such that no one is permitted to enter to leave Marizgaon, no matter whether they are sick or healthy. The residents of Marizgaon who are not yet infected with the virus are afraid that they will also fall ill and die if they are not allowed to escape immediately. They file a case stating that their right to life is being affected. They also state their right to equality is being affected as they are being treated differently from other citizens of Registan, although they are equally disease free as those outside Marizgaon. A famous journalist, Mr. Matthew, supports the government stand, and while traveling on an airplane, is confronted by a comedian, Miss Mercedes, who says that government is violating human rights of person in Marizgaon. Miss Mercedes is promptly detained for her allegedly anti-national views and in retaliation files a case against the government stating that her right to freedom of speech and expression has been denied. Discuss noting that the laws of Registan are pari materia to the laws of India. Article 14 of the Constitution guarantees that all people shall be equally protected by the laws of the country. It means that the state will treat in the same circumstances alike. This article also means that individuals, whether citizens of India or otherwise, shall be treated differently if the circumstances are different. Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution gives the freedom of speech and expression on which the state can impose reasonable restriction in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India. The security of the state, friendly relation with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation, or incitement to an offense. Article 21 gives the right to life, personal liberty, and right to die with dignity, passive euthanasia. The Constitution also imposes restriction on these rights. The government restricts these freedom in the interest of the independence, sovereignty, and integrity of India. In the interest of morality and public order, the government can also impose restrictions. So
Okay, very good. Right. Now, before I explain this passage, I just want to say that I really like the fact that, I have these kind of fans who with me, like Janki, Pandit Mishra, and this Harshit, and some other guy who has taken the name of one of my other students. So it's quite hilarious actually that 5 days before the exam, they are either going to, top rank because they are so relaxed, or like they are going to write the exam in 2028. So after you all graduate, then you all can teach them. The only thing is like video is something which cannot be stopped. So which is why you can just disable the video. Like for me, I can't see any video, so I can't get disturbed. Okay, so if any of you are getting disturbed, you can just do that. Okay, so having said that, now let's continue with the class, and I hope that you all learn something, you guys. Maybe it will come in handy, whatever you do. uh, I think none of us here are as invested in this class as these people. So it's nice. We have some mascots. So anyway, this paragraph I had written like way back in, like, I don't know, maybe March or April of this year, when coronavirus, not even March or April, rather like January or February, when coronavirus was just something which was happening in Wuhan, and there was a lockdown in Wuhan, which is why I have written it like this, that there was a lockdown here and there, kind of. And then it became such a big thing. So I mean, like, who would have, that it would take over our lives like this? So anyway, these are very, very obvious constitutional issues which now have been, I'm sure, dealt with by every institute in like great detail, because force majeure in terms of pandemic is the only one thing everyone is talking about now. But basically, this contains all the ingredients of like issues related to right to equality, right to life, right to freedom, all of these things. Okay. So now that we have read the passage and we have read the principles also, let us move on to the questions. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Laksha. Rishika, go ahead.
The healthy residents of Mary's Cow argue in the court that they are in the same circumstances as other citizens of Pakistan who have not been affected by the virus. Therefore, they should be treated equally alike as such other healthy citizens of Pakistan. According to Article 14, further, they are healthy as compared to the sick people who have been infected with the virus in Mary's Cow, and so the sick people are in different circumstances, so should be treated differently. Therefore, they should be allowed to leave and join other healthy people, while the sick people should remain in Marie's cow. Which of the following, if true, would most weaken the argument of a healthy resident of Marie's cow? So options.
Yeah.
The lockdown of healthy. So the lockdown of the healthy residents of Marie's Cow is a death sentence for them, because even though they are not yet infected, it is only a matter of time before the virus catches up with them. The government has prevented any form of escape, although there is intelligible differentia and rational nexus between them as a class by themselves under Article 14, so they should be treated differently from the sick residents. The circumstances are not to do with the infection for the virus, but rather the radius of the area where the disease is prevalent. Everyone with the perimeter of the affected area is in the same circumstances and shall be treated alike. So the fact of being healthy or sick is irrelevant in decision-making process.
Okay. So what do you think?
So I feel it's B or D, something I'm confused. I feel it's maybe none of the above, or it may be the option B. I'm
Okay,
confused.
fair enough. Then I will tell you that it is one of the two. That much I will tell you. Okay. So let's see. Anyone else who has the answer? Go ahead,
So
Laksha.
option B then.
Option B then. Okay. So basically, the whole criteria about Article 14 is treating the same people in the same way. And the other thing is like treating, different people in different ways. So if, you have got two people who are in the same category, then you have to treat them the same way. But if you have got two people who are not in the same category, you have to treat them also differently. Okay. So over here, the healthy residents are saying they are sick, we are healthy. Why you are like locking us down as well, right? So they are seeing it from that point of view. But you have to see it from point of view of radius. Like if the next door neighbor has got the virus, then likely you should also be quarantined, right? Because obviously the virus may be spreading. So it's a matter of distance, a matter of area, not a matter of like healthy and not healthy. So the basis on which they were making the difference itself was flawed. Okay, that's why the answer is B. Both of you are correct. Okay, well done. Next. Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
You are the judge who is asked to decide whether the lockdown of the healthy residents amounts to a violation of the rights to life under Article 21. Decide. So the answer is B. The right to life is not violated because even though the healthy residents of Marisgaon appear to be so, they may be infected and endanger the lives of others. Therefore, it is a reasonable restriction.
No, right to life, kind of is granted to everyone, whether they are citizen or non-citizen also. Okay.
Yes.
And in fact, it is even granted to animals in India. You can't just go and kill a dog in the middle of the road. You see some of these horrific videos
Yes,
that
sir.
somebody was just killing a dog and that person goes to jail. So right to life is even available to animals. Okay. So, but right to life, when means you have the right, everyone else also has the right. And we have all heard of asymptomatic people who appear not to have virus, but actually they have the virus. And maybe they themselves don't get the virus, but they transfer to others because they are carriers. Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
in this kind of circumstances, right to life doesn't have to be considered of those people who are being locked down, but rather of those people who will get infected if they are allowed to move around. Okay. So quarantine is for whom? Quarantine is not for that person. Quarantine is for everyone else who doesn't get affected. Okay, that's why the answer is B. So you are right. Well done. Next, question 3. Read it. Okay, Shanya, go ahead.
You are the judge who is asked to decide whether the detention of Miss Mercedes amounts to a violation of a right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19(1). Decide. I think the answer will be B. The comments made by Miss Mercedes were not against public order, decency, or morality, since they criticized the government's stance in a constitutional manner, and she had the right to criticize the government if she wanted to, but in a lawful manner, and I think she was lawful.
Absolutely correct. See, because like again, we have seen there was nothing derogatory, there was nothing seditious, there was nothing scandalous in her words. In earlier one also we saw, that IAS officer, he merely said we should defeat the people in the elections, the government in the elections. So these kind of things you can't classify as violate, these kind of things. Okay. So moving to the next one, question number 4. Okay, Laksha, go ahead. Laksha, you're not audible.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. The question says the government decides to send all hardcore criminals who are on death row into Marisgaon with the intention that they contract the virus and die. Which of the following rights are being violated? The answer would be C, Article 21, because it states the right to life and liberty for a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, simple enough. Next one. And let's have some new hands also, because like there's some people who have till now not participated. So why don't you try? Okay. And rest of you can also raise your hand, whoever wants to try. Question number 5. Take a second to read it, understand it, then you can try. Okay, Uman, go ahead. Go ahead, Uman. No, I think there's some problem with Uman. Okay, Lakshya, go ahead.
Sir, I can answer.
Okay, go ahead, Umang. Yeah.
Which of the following would most strengthen the argument of the healthy residents? So I think the answer will be A. The Republic of Rajasthan had allowed citizens of foreign countries to be evacuated from Marisgaon back to their own countries. So in this case, the residents of same circumstances are not treated alike.
Exactly. If you're allowing other people to go, why you are not allowing people, right? Simple violation
Yes.
of equality, right? Right to equality. Okay, good. Now, unfortunately, there's still not, any change with my video status today. So, since we are already here and we are conducting a class, I feel like we can just continue with a few more passages. So, whoever wants to continue, please raise your hand. Accordingly, we will decide. Should we continue with few more passages since we are already here and we are studying, right? Okay, great, fine. So let's do that. Let's move on to the next passage. Immediately. There's no need to waste any time. And whoever wants to read it out, please raise your hand. Okay, Ananya, go ahead.
Okay. Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead.
Okay. The concept of judicial review sometimes seems too good to be true, and the sad reality is that often that's exactly the case. If we look at the current state of affairs, the Indian security laws provide for accountability for the executive only much later or ex post facto. Cases against officers acting under security powers cannot be filed without the permission of the government, and certainly not by those whose rights have been violated. Why? Because they lack access, and this is where the concept of judicial review starts to fall apart. There are issues of accessibility. Not everyone is up for the battle of taking on the stake. Cost, most people can ill afford the legal fees such as project would entail time. The long widened approach of the judiciary is no secret. Perhaps one solution would be to check the decisions of the executive prior to their intendment rather than ex post facto. This would help curb the menace of abuse of executive decision making power. One instance of the would be to reverse an executive decision to detain someone on frivolous grounds, which would prevent and correct abuse. Further, if a vast number of detainees were found to be form a particular group or class of people, then it may be wise to inquire as to nature of the arrest below before allowing it. Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's absolutely, well read, I think. And now, again, we can see it's one of those passages, and they are going to be either questions or they're going to be comprehension style because we have yet not done a comprehension style in this mock. Let us do a comprehensive style passage now. Okay, so these are some, information like some views about the judicial society that we live in right now, and then we are asked to kind of identify various themes, legal themes from it. Okay. One thing you will note, it's saying ex post facto. So I'm also very well versed with legal maxims because this year, so to speak, we are not required to study them, but of course, some basic knowledge is always required. Okay, so let us see if anyone knows the meaning of ex post facto. You can raise your hand if you know the meaning of ex post facto. Yes, Rishika, tell me.
So, an ex facto post law is a law that changes the legal consequences of the actions which were committed and the relation that existed before the enactment of the law.
Okay, fine. Uh, Basically, yes, ex post facto in a way you can say, but in simple terms, if you translate it from Latin, because ex post facto is Latin, it means after the fact. Okay, afterwards means like first something happens, then you kind of go and see, oh, what happened, not like before. So suppose, like, there's a lot of dynamite kept over there, and rather than taking action at that point of time, you just let it be, and afterwards it exploded, and then ex post facto you went to see like what happened, why it happened, all those kind of things. Okay, so just be aware of a few Latin terms, and usually Latin you can understand. Uh, Latin you can understand because it's very easily translatable into English actually. Okay, there's one phrase called fait accompli. Okay, fait accompli means nothing but accomplished feat. Okay, a feat which has already been accomplished. Okay, so for example, if like there's a guard who is chasing me, and I'm trying to jump over the fence, and he's trying to catch me. Suppose I manage to jump over the fence, then it's a fait accompli. Now he cannot catch me anymore. Okay, these kind of terms. Nemo dat quod non habet. It means a person who doesn't have something cannot give something. So nemo dat quod non habet, if you just read the Latin word, you will understand how it relates to English. Okay, falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus means if you are false, if you are lying in one thing, uno, you are lying in everything. Basically, it means that a person who is found lying will not be trusted in a court of law. The evidence will not be, carry any weight if they've been found to be lying, right? That is the reason. So these are just some technical words you should remember. Okay, like inter re, among other things. So does anyone know any legal maxim that they can share? If you can raise your hand. If you know legal maxim, raise your hand and tell me. Okay, Laksha, go ahead.
So there's this legal maxim, qui facet per alium facet per se.
Okay, and you want to explain to everyone what does it mean?
It basically means that I'm just forgetting the meaning. Just a second, sir. I'll just check my notes.
Okay, so meanwhile, anyone else wants to share a maxim, legal maxim? When I was assistant vice president in a bank in Mumbai, then like my boss who was there, my legal head who was there, he loved legal maxims, So if you quoted him a legal maxim in the morning, he would be very happy with you the whole day. So I would make it a point to remember all the legal maxims and go and like tell it to him.
The meaning of qui facet per alium facet per se is that one who acts through himself acts through another. This is basically from the tort law,
Right.
like from the
And
vicarious
how can
liability section.
yeah, exactly. From the vicarious liability.
Yes,
That
sir.
is the fundamental basis of vicarious liability. Okay,
Yes,
very
sir.
good. Yeah. Okay. Rishika, go ahead.
So actus reus,
Actus
guilty
reus,
act.
very good. Very good. Actus reus and mens rea, So actus reus is the act and mens rea is the mind. Right? Very good. Okay, great. Let's move on now. Okay, Umang, we'll have one more and then we'll move to the passage. Go on.
So ubi just ibi remedium. It
Okay,
means
what does it
when
mean?
there is a right, there is a remedy.
Where there is a right remedy, because what's the point of having a right if it's not justiciable? Justiciable means like you cannot enforce it in court of law. Okay, that's why contract is valid and agreement is not valid. What's the difference? Agreement which is valid in that is called contract. Otherwise, an agreement which you cannot enforce, that is not agreement you cannot enforce. That is not available. Okay, so that is the kind of thing. Now let us move on to the passage. Okay, first one. Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
What is the challenge with regard to judicial review? The sir answer would be D, all the above, because in the sixth sentence in the passage, because they lack access, and this is where the concept of judicial review starts to fall apart. There are issues of accessibility. Not everyone is up to for the battle of taking on the state cost. Most people can ill afford the legal fees. Such a project would entail time. The long-winded approach of the judiciary is no secret. So, sir, in the first three options are there.
Absolutely correct.
Stated.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's absolutely correct. All of them, obviously, very obvious, question. Next one. Okay, Laksha, go ahead.
The question is, what is the solution to the problem of abuse of executive decision-making power? The answer would be judicial scrutiny at an earlier stage. Because if we do the judicial scrutiny at an earlier stage, we can prevent and correct the abuse that can be done from the decision-making powers of the government or the personnel.
Right, right. And why not be?
Sorry, sir?
Why not be?
Sir, because
B
the
states, huh,
uh, it's not visible to me. Sir. Yes, sir. B states criminal prosecution. I guess you scrolled it again.
yeah. Okay, see here. B states criminal prosecution of government officials
Yes, sir.
who were
Who were
acting
acting
under
under
security
security
powers.
powers must be driven by victims of rights violation. So option B
Okay,
would not be valid because the victims cannot prosecute the accused, as this is the function of the state, not of this
absolutely
personnel.
correct.
It has to be
Absolutely
done
correct.
by the courts of India, not from the personal level. So that is why.
Yeah. Right. Certainly not by those whose rights have been violated. Why? Because they lack access. And this is where the concept of judicial review comes. So, okay. Question is asking what is the solution to the problem of abuse? Okay. I hope you all can see. What is the problem? What is the solution to the problem of abuse of executive decision making power? Okay. Who wants to answer? Please raise your hand. Okay, Rishika, go ahead.
So I was saying that I can't see the questions. Like it's not
Now can you
visible.
see? Is it visible right now?
Not that clear, but no.
Okay, hold on.
Zoom
Is it
it up.
better now?
Zoom a bit.
Is it better
Yes,
now?
it's better now. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, fine. So Ananya can go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
Ananya.
I guess it will be C, both A and B, because, sir, I'm not sure about the B part, but I'm confused between A and C. That's why I'm not raising it.
Okay.
Because the
Okay.
court will consider all decisions before implementation, avoiding loss of liberty. This can be, but about B, I'm not getting it. So if you could explain it a little.
We'll monitor whether any particular group is being targeted. Look at the passage again and see. Okay. Do you
Yes.
see it anywhere?
It's just.
What is the question again, Reed?
Which of no, sir. A
Will
little.
monitor. How will
No,
judicial
sir,
intervention prevent and correct abuse of
yes.
executive decision-making power? Right. And
Yes.
the second option is the court will monitor whether any particular group is being targeted. Right. So
Yes,
now let's see in the passage if it's saying anything about any particular group being targeted.
Targeted.
See?
Yes. Concept.
Okay. Rishika?
So in that last third line, it's written that further a vast number of detainees were found to be particular
Absolutely.
group or class of people. Then
Yes, sir.
maybe the bias.
Right. So basically, it's saying very clearly that if there's a particular kind of group of people, then the court will monitor whether any particular group is being targeted.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, next one. Who wants to answer? Let's see some new hands as well. Okay, right now, Rishika, you can answer this one. I want to see some new hands in the next one. Go ahead, Rishika.
Which of the following would best improve the current mechanism for executive accountability? A daily meeting with Prime Minister and Chief Justice of India, rejecting the government decision to prevently death someone for a particular group or reason that made detents were from that same group. And so I feel it should be B or D. Again confused. Be B or D. I feel it's B. Correct.
Right.
Detention is mentioned. So option D, none of the above, because it's written that many detainees were from that same group in option D. So I think option D will go with it. I think it's D, none of the above. Yeah.
Okay. So see over here. Basically, there's nothing which is written about prime minister and chief justice, so that is obviously not correct. But if you see this rejecting the government decision to preventively detain someone from a particular group simply because there are already many detainees from that group, like for example, we know the case of Rohingyas, okay, who fled from Myanmar and they are refugees. Okay, so suppose lot of Rohingyas have been detained in India. Okay, once they reached over here, they were considered like illegal migrants and they were detained in India. Okay. Uh, Now, of course, the court may step in and they may say that, if a vast number of detainees are from a particular group, then it may be wise to inquire as to the nature of the arrest before allowing it. Means, why has this person been arrested? Is it simply because they are a Rohingya or is it because they have done some kind of crime? Right. Now, if a person has come and that person belongs to the Rohingya kind of community, okay, and the court says that, oh, he's from Rohingya community, already they are persecuted, how can you persecute him? Release him. Although that particular person might be a murderer, okay, that is the reason why B is not correct. Because you cannot reject the government decision to detain somebody simply because a lot of people of that community are detained. Right. What if that person has actually done something wrong? They are not detaining him because he's a Rohingya, but they might be detaining him because he is accused of murder. Right. So this is the reason that the answer will be D. Both A and B are not correct. Okay. Good. Moving on to the next one. Which of the following are false? Okay, Saifal, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The fifth question, which of the following is false? The option is C, both A and B, because in the first statement, just because it will create a conflict of interest, we won't stop the prosecution of government officials. So this statement is wrong. And in the second option, it is going like extreme. The word only, the only way to tackle the problem. So we don't take the options with extreme words. So the option
Right.
is C.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. That is the answer, and the explanation is also correct. Okay. So I think let's do one last passage for today. Okay. So who wants to read? Please raise your hand. Okay. There's a new person. Vivek, want to try?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
After years of oppression at the hands of their husbands and in-laws, Indian women have finally broken the shackles in part, thanks to the forward-looking amendments in the Indian Penal Code 1860. 498A, which deals with cruelty by the husband as a punishable offense, has been introduced. It may be physical or mental. 304B, which criminalizes dowry health, shifts the burden of proof squarely upon the husband and his family. Further, the Indian Evidence Act provides that in a rape trial, no evidence may be admitted as to the character of the victim, and the moral character of the victim is irrelevant.
Okay. Go on.
There has expectedly been opposition to these amendments by men's rights groups and others who warn against its potential misuse and abuse. The argument against such criticism and the logic behind these amendments is that of positive discrimination. In order to end centuries of oppression, sometimes equality does not suffice, and the need of the hour is equity. Such is the case here.
Okay, good. Now, I think these are like very, crisply placed principles, facts, information, some, kind of, what to say, opinions. So altogether, we have got a passage over here. Okay, so there are some provisions of IPC which mostly relate with, like, women's laws, and I think now we can move on to the questions. Okay, so the first question, okay, Shruti, go ahead.
Ravi comes home obviously very drunk. He sees his wife Radha in the next room and starts accusing her of neglecting him. In a fit of rage, he throws a vase at her which narrowly misses her. She files a case accusing Ravi of cruelty. So the answer is C. The behavior of Ravi amounts to cruelty.
Okay,
So
I think that
because
is, yeah,
yeah,
right.
uh, sir, because he is drunk and he don't have reason to accuse her anything of.
Mm, right. So exactly, I think it's a very fit case for cruelty. So okay, let's move on to next one. Okay, Laksha, go ahead.
Ria and Radhesham were married on January 1, 2019. On 1 February 2019, Ria's mother-in-law told her, pay us the money or else. This went on every day, which she told her family about till the first March 2019, when Ria was mysteriously found burnt alive in her bedroom. Radhesham's family claimed that there was a short circuit, but Ria's family smelled a rat and suspected foul play. They filed a case of dowry death. Decide. The answer would be B. Radhesham's family is guilty till proven innocent because burden of proof is on them.
Very
The
clearly it is mentioned. Anna.
exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Next one. Okay, go ahead, Shruti.
A lady was coming home at 4 a.m. and was obviously drunk. She was apprehended by some men near her house in a truck and dumped there an hour later. She filed a case of rape and 3 men were arrested. They stated that the lady was provocatively dressed and had been returning home late every night for past 2 weeks. It was clear that she was a professional sex worker. So the answer is A. The defense based on the lady's profession or moral character was not material to the trial.
Hmm. It is mentioned very clearly that the moral character of the person
Yes, sir.
or their profession is not relevant. Okay, first of all, a profession doesn't decide a person's character. Okay, second of all, like the reason is because in all these rape trials, usually the prosecutrix, that is the victim, the person who is prosecuting, that prosecutrix would always face the character assassination. That she's a lady of loose morals and this and that to assassinate her character, that she goes around sleeping with everybody. First of all, uh, it's a very good thing that character assassination has been banned by Supreme Court. But I'm really waiting for the day when something like this doesn't qualify as character assassination. Like, so what if she gets drunk and goes around sleeping with as many guys as she likes? How is that assassinating her character? Don't guys do it too? Does it? I mean, it's human nature. What's wrong in that? So I quite sympathize with Neha Dhupia when she says it's her choice. So this is the thing, like it's a good thing that character assassination you cannot do anymore. But I really hope that this is not this one day this will not be character assassination. Saying that a woman sleeps around with guys, I don't think it is character assassination at all. But anyway, you are right. Um, the defense based on the person's profession or character is not material. Okay. Next. Okay, Laksha, go ahead.
The question says Preeti and Rahul are twins. Their mother, Ravina, wished she had twin boys and so only gave half a chocolate to Preeti whenever she gave Rahul one. This continued for 10 years till one day Ravina had a change of heart after watching a movie on gender equality. Now she offered Preeti a full chocolate as well. Is this equitable? The answer would be C. This may be equal but not equitable. Preeti must get more than one chocolate to compensate for all the years of discrimination.
Right. So this is nothing but positive discrimination. When you ask like why are women in parliament getting reservations? Why are you giving reservations for like minorities, depressed classes, things like that. The reason is very simple. Reason is historical oppression. If you are not allowing somebody the right, basic, access to hygiene, and treating them as untouchable for years and years and centuries. And one fine day, just because you ban the entire practice of untouchability, doesn't mean the stigma goes away. You need to do something extra to compensate for all the wrong that has been done. Like, for example, in Nazi Germany, it was just not enough that Hitler lost the war and the Jews in the camps were freed. That's not enough. Of course, the people who were responsible have to pay. So you have the Nuremberg trials, where high-ranking Nazi officials were held guilty. Same way happened in Cambodia, under the Khmer Rouge, when you had camps like S21, led by Dutch and Pol Pot. You did have trials and justice for those victims as well. It's the same case here. Okay. Now, last question in this passage. Okay, so I'll go ahead.
Yes, sir. Ramesh is upset. He tells his friend Suresh, "Gone are the days when you could just beat up your wife a little bit if she was out of line, just to shake off the stress. Now you can't even get any dowry out of them, else she'll stick a case on you where you have to prove your innocence of all the things. And these Me Too girls these days, one wrong move and they'll accuse you of rape." And you can't even testify as to her morality. Suresh is a lawyer. What does he reply? So he may say that have some respect for women.
I think all these answers are correct. But since he's a lawyer, he would say
So
you are being on wrong side of law. Okay, because he's a lawyer. But the question is actually not so much in the answer, but in the question itself, because you can see that entire summary of the passage has been given in this part. He's saying, gone are the days when you could beat up your wife a little bit. That is what? That is cruelty, isn't it? Then now you can't even derive any dowry out of them, as they stick a case on you. That is dowry. So it's like 304B and 498A right there. Right. After that, they will say, these Me Too girls these days, you can't even testify her morality, what we just discussed about like testifying, character assassination. So all of these things he has said which are illegal, right? That is why the lawyer will say your views on wrong side of the law. Each of his views, that you can beat up your wife, you should take dowry from them, they are of a bad moral character. All these are on wrong side of law, isn't it? That is why the answer is A. Okay. So on that note, shall we call it a day? I think we have covered 6 rather than the usual 4 passages. Okay. So let's wrap up the class for now. I'll continue the remaining stuff later on. Would you like to finish the 2 passages remaining? You can just raise your hand if so. Otherwise, we can have a small chat and then we can close it for today, I think. Okay. I think let's. Okay, fine. Fine, let's do one more passage. Okay, never mind. Let's do one more passage. Okay. So who wants to read? Read, please raise your hand. Okay, Arpana, go ahead.
The Population Control Bill 2020 is the brainchild of senior advocate and Congress leader Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who plans to introduce it as a formal recognition of the two-child policy in India. The immediate trigger is the growing concern regarding the natural resources of the nation vis the population explosion. Previously, this idea found expression in movements such as Hum Do Hamare Do and similar campaigns, including the ill-advised sterilization campaign of Sanjay Gandhi during the emergency. This bill is a private member bill and will provide SOPs to couples who decide to have one child or none, and further for those who undergo voluntary sterilization. Section 6 reads, if both the husband and the wife in the case of a married couple who have only one child voluntarily undergo sterilization operation, the appropriate government shall provide them with the following benefits, namely A. Preference to the single child for admission in institutes of higher education. B. Preference for selection to the single child in government jobs. C. Such other benefits that may be described by the appropriate government.
Yeah. Go on.
One-child couples will be rewarded with monetary incentives provided they are BPL, below poverty line. They shall receive a one-time lump sum of rupees 60,000 if their single child is a boy and rupees 1 lakh if the single child is a girl. Section 8 of the bill lists out the advantages that married couples who have more than 2 children would face. These include being debarred from A. Contesting in Lok Sabha, state legislature and panchayat elections, B. Getting elected to the Rajya Sabha, the state legislature and similar elective bodies, C. Getting promotion in government services, D. Applying to Group A jobs under the central and state governments, E. Receiving any kind of government subsidy in case the married couple falls in the above poverty line category. According to experts, the couples who already fall within any of the above categories at the date of enactment are expected to be exempted, but anyone who falls within the purview of Section 8 after the Act would attract its provisions. The bill is expected to be challenged in the courts from various quarters in the event that it is passed by Parliament into law due to its controversial provisions. Whether it will be clear by both houses of parliament is also a highly debatable issue, so it remains to be seen if the courts entertain any such attempts to strike it down after it becomes an act.
Okay, very good. Now here you see that it's quite a long passage this time. Some of the passage we had which were, very short, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. Now you have a bit of a longer passage, okay? Now consortium has said that the paragraph will be between 400 and 450 words. So most of the passage you will find within that range. Some you will find shorter, some you will find longer, because I want to give you practice of everything. After all, after, months and months of telling you that you can use a calculator, now they are saying you cannot. So you cannot put past but the consortium that they will give you last minute surprises, right? It's better to be prepared. Okay. So anyway, now they're talking about a population control bill. You used to have the Hum Do Hamare Do movement in the past, and there was a sterilization campaign, a forced sterilization campaign, which was conducted by Sanjay Gandhi, who was the son of Indira Gandhi, who died in a plane crash. Actually, now whenever you have demonetization or something, it's called note bandi, and something else like this bandi, that bandi. It comes from nas bandi, which is nothing but sterilization conducted by Sanjay Gandhi. And they used to pick people out of the streets and sterilize them and then give them a radio as a kind of a gift. This was their idea of kind of population control. So obviously, like that wasn't very constitutional way of going about. Now they're trying to impose some kind of benefit scheme in China. You have a you had a very strict kind of one child policy, due to which the population did decrease. But India is trying to make something which is not that kind of strict, but rather voluntary. Okay.
Also, sir, in Panchayati Raj, we have this thing that if you have only one children, then you can apply for that elections in Panchayati Raj.
Yeah,
panchayats.
exactly. You have various types of schemes, which kind of encourage, like reducing number of children. Uh, you know, Recently, if you read in news, this was also there in some kind of recent current affairs that one man, he didn't want to have a girl child, and obviously, as you know, the testing of pregnancy is illegal. So he actually ripped out the stomach of the woman to see whether the child is male or female when the woman was still having 2 or 3 months left to go. What kind of stupidity is existing in this country? And it's not, it's just lack of education. It's because of ignorance and lack of job opportunities. So many endemic reasons are there, but biggest victims are the women, who have to suffer from these kind of things. Many times, you will find, like, in a family they have 5 girls, 7 girls, because they keep trying and keep trying to have boys, so they end up having 5 girls, 7 girls, like this, and then they are not able to run the household properly. So this kind of concept, first of all, that the man is earning, like now when you all go into law school, or when I was already there, like, girls and boys earning same amount, because all of them are sitting for recruitment equally. Those of you all are studying in co-ed schools and all. It's even not non-co-ed schools also. It's like there is a certain, like, kind of gender parity that you're seeing nowadays. But you don't see that so much in the rural areas, right? So this is the kind of scheme that government is, starting to build out. First of all, gender equality, gender parity, and secondly, population control. Okay. So now let us look at some of the questions. Whoever wants to answer, please raise your hand. Okay, Rishika, go ahead.
When the mom, father of 14 children and a pregnant family, immediately approaches the High Court to quash the bill since he claims that it impinges upon the fundamental right of life granted by Article 21 of the Constitution of India. The bill has not become a law, so Pendulum cannot approach the High Court at this stage. Right to life should include right to have children, and it's unfair of the government want to restrict this, and thus the High Court should pass the bill. Population control is essential for the growth of India, and as such, the government is the right to introduce such bill. None of the above. So, see, the bill has not become a law, so the Kalibama cannot approach the High Court, or can approach the other. So maybe it's the none of the above.
None of the above. Why do you say none of the above?
Because it passed by the parliament into a law of confidential provision. It's not clear that the both house is highly debatable issue, and it remains seen in the court, and court can entertain only after it becomes a law, like after the act becomes a law. It's written in the passage.
Okay. Excellent. So fine, I agree with you. You answered the none of the above.
Yeah, so the voice,
Sorry.
so your voice is very slow, like it's not coming properly.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir. Maybe my network issue, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, sir, it's better.
Right? Okay. Fine. Okay. Second question. Who wants to answer? Please raise your hand. Okay. Ananya, I'm guessing. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ananya.
Yes, sir. Ullu Bhai, a poor man below poverty line who just had his first child, a few months ago, a baby girl went to the hospital with his wife and got sterilized, earning rupees 1 lakh. However, soon after, their baby girl died of an infection. Aggrieved, Ullu Bhai went to the hospital again to undo the sterilization, but when the government officers learnt of this, they insisted that he return the rupees 1 lakh he had claimed earlier. Sir, I think it will be A. Ullu Bhai should return rupees 1 lakh since he's planning to have another child.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I agree with you. They should return the 1 lakh because they are planning to have another child. It doesn't say that what is the fate of that child, whether the child survives or dies or whatever. You had one child and you earned a certain amount. If you have one more child, you are bound to return. Okay. It's very unfortunate that the first baby died, but fact remains that they had a child, right? Okay. Next one. You want to try again, Ananya? Nobody? Okay, I'll take this one then. Assume that the bill has passed into law and is now an act. Pati and Patni have 2 children and they don't plan on having another child. Okay, both hold group A jobs in the central government. Suddenly they find out that they are with child again, and because they discovered it too late, the period for safe abortion has passed. In light of the new bill, what are the consequences for Pati and Patni? Okay. Both will have to quit their jobs. Because the law says over here, if you see, that at the date of enactment, whoever falls within the above categories, holding group A jobs, etc., would be exempted, but anyone who falls in the purview of Section 8 after the Act would attract this provision. So as you can see over here, at that point of time, they were not contravening, but after the Act was passed, they found that they are with the child again, and so they were contravening, and so they cannot retain their jobs. Okay? So the answer is C. They will have to quit their jobs. Okay. Fourth one, who wants to answer? Please raise your hand. Take a minute to read it carefully. Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
Years later, after this law becomes effective, Bindas, a single child, and Tej, the third child of his family, appear for an entrance exam for a premier higher education institute. Bindas scores 45%, while Tej scores 95%. However, Bindas gets admission instead of Tej because his parents underwent sterilization when he was born. Tej is extremely upset and seeks a remedy. Sir, it can be B. Tej can sue the institute. Clearly, he deserves admission instead of Bindas. It can be, sir.
Okay.
It can be A or B.
Okay. Okay. What do you think?
Sir, B.
Okay. B. Anyone else? Okay, Rishika.
So it can be A, that it is a law and needs to be followed. There is no remedy because Bilas is the single child, as it's mentioned in the passage that single child will get that advantage in a higher education. So I can say
Preference to single child for admission in institutes of higher education. Unfortunately, it's very, very simply written, so Tej cannot take advantage. And final question, as soon as the law comes into effect, who wants to answer this? Okay, Shruti, go ahead.
As soon as the law comes into effect, it is found that 85% of the elected officials and government offices fall under the debarred category. What are the consequences? So the answer can be B. The law would be prospective in nature. It cannot affect persons who are already working since they were not in breach of law when they had multiple children.
Right. So your answer is B, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely right. The law would be prospective means It is only going to be from the date when it has been enacted forward, not the thing which has already happened in past. Okay, so it cannot affect persons who are already working since they were not in breach at the time. You can't like remove the children who are already existing, right? So that's why you have to just exempt them and continue from the future on. Okay, good, fine. Well done. So we will leave the last passage for next class. Okay, let us leave something for next time also. If we do everything today, then what is the fun, right? Okay. So we have one passage left in this, kind of particular mock. And before we wrap up today, I'll take one or two questions from all of you. If you all have any thoughts in your mind you'll want to discuss with me. And I will speak with you all again the day before the exam. Don't worry. On 27, I will have a brief chat. But today, if you have any questions, please ask me.
So I wanted to ask that in a legal passage, if there is not much fact, but the passage really, it's really a big passage. Still, for solving the question, you have to read all the passages, like complete passage.
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Basically, you see the passage once very quickly, okay, and you see like what kind of passage it is. Like you said right now that it's a passage is very, very long, but material over there is very limited. You know, it's like eating a dish which has lot of gravy, but only one or two pieces of meat, right? Something like that. So read it very, very quickly. Means within 30 seconds, just glance through it, okay? And one of the ways is to draw an imaginary line in the middle of the passage and just go down that middle, keeping on looking left and right, like how you cross the road, right? You cross in the middle and then you look left, right while crossing. So you know the whole road, like that, okay? And then when you read the questions, question by question you come, because most often if it's a long paragraph, it will be divided into particular paragraphs. And each paragraph will relate to a question usually. So when you go to the question, go back to see which question it relates to. Right now we just saw, right? Each and every question related to a particular sentence in the passage. So that's what you have to do. Okay? Okay. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
So, one more question. I was asking that in RC, like we use the method of elimination of the options. So, can we use this method in legal also, like the elimination of the options?
Elimination of the options?
Yes, sir. Like having a glance on the passages, we use in RC. That having just a glance on the passages, we go to first to the questions, then options, like and then we eliminate.
So you can do this. You can do this in the case where you really don't know. Ideally, what it should be is when you read it, you can see what's the correct answer. Okay, like in GK, okay, or in English, okay, sometimes in legal, you see the answer. In maths, always. In maths, it's always the case. Like you see the answer, that is the answer, right? But sometimes when it comes to passages where you are not so sure of the answer, it could be A or B. So then you start eliminating. It cannot be D. It cannot be C. It's between A and B, and then you take a guess. You attempt that question, right? That's how it is. It's a leap of faith. So yeah, that's pretty much a good strategy. Only if the answer doesn't jump out at you straight away. Okay.
Okay.
Next, Vivek, go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to ask the answer of question 4, which you just discussed. Because
okay, just DM me. I'll look into it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Divam, go ahead.
Sir, I have some doubts related to mock which you have provided.
That we can discuss separately. You can DM me. We'll get on call. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Fine. So thank you all for participating today in the class. I, as usual, enjoyed teaching all of you, and I hope that you all enjoyed your session as well. So please do let me know how you enjoyed the class in the Telegram channel as well. And if you have any doubts, any questions, as you know, I'm always available. Okay. So I will see you all again on 27th, and till then, all the best with your preparation. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, sir.